What an interesting part of a live. Sitting here alone, waiting. Good morning. Thank you for joining, guys. As per usual, we'll give it a little bit of time for people to join. I just wanted to hop on. Actually, now it's 10:30, so a little bit early, just to make sure things are working. I'm still kind of scarred by the first two um, lives that I did that were just complete technical failures. Welcome, welcome. What's up? Thanks for coming back. I have my coffee, of course. I hope you guys do too. To be honest, we've been working on this digital brunch event, and yesterday we were talking about good morning, hola. Yesterday we were working on this upcoming digital brunch event, and we were just talking a lot about mimosas, and I was really tempted to have mimosa today with you guys instead of my coffee, but I may save that for next week. So, April 18th, wow, can you guys believe it? We've been in this thing for over a month now. Pretty crazy. So today is actually part 3 of our 4-part series on these Facebook Lives, where the umbrella topic is dating while social distancing. And we've covered, so far we've done online dating tips, we've covered profiles, and we've covered basic communication and strategy when you're dating online. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do today, but finally I decided that today would be a bit of a mixed bag of 5 of my top tips, things that you can do now, whether or not you are actively dating during this time, but these are things that you could do to get yourself set up for really great dating experiences, the right mindset to date within. And yes, we're gonna cover all that today. So for anyone joining for the first time, my name is Kavita Adjwani. I'm the owner of Dashing Dates Speed Dating, and I'm a matchmaker. And this type of coaching came about for me very organically. Just became very passionate about it because I was always helping clients for the last many years, just helping them, really reach their dating goals, whether they were coming to our events or with matchmaking. So this is what I do. It's what I do best. It's what I'm passionate about. And hopefully we will get you guys all set up for your next date, for your next, be it in person or online. So welcome guys. Let's get into it. So today's tips, there's 5 in total. They are not in any particular order. Some of the tips do overlap and complement each other, but a couple of the tips are just completely out of left field. Some may resonate with you more than others, but all are things that you could apply either today or eventually whenever you feel the time is right for you. So let's jump in. A few weeks ago, I touched on this topic about dating checklists. It's a topic that I really love to dive into because we all have dating checklists. We all have this idea of what we're looking for in a person. And it seems that the older we get, or the more we date, or every relationship we get out of, this list just gets longer and longer. And I think it's really important to find clarity after each relationship. That's what I love about dating, is because every time you go on a date, I truly believe you're one step closer to meeting the right person, because you become more clear on who you are, what you're looking for, what works for you, and what does not work for you. However, there is a negative side to this, and that is your dating checklist becomes very, very long. And something I've been talking about for a while is how limiting your dating checklists are. So I strongly believe that you do have to know what you're looking for. You do really have to understand your values and what's really, really most important to you. But I would say 75% of your checklist needs to go into the garbage. So let's talk about why. Um, so for starters, I view dating checklists almost as an obstacle. Um, just think about, I'm kind of going off course here, but whatever. Just think about the idea of a checklist. The idea of a checklist is like a to-do list, things that we want to kind of tick off and get out of the way. That's not how we should be approaching love, how to finding love, meeting people, finding relationships. It's just not the right foundation, the right mindset that we should be going into it with, a checklist. Um, we end up on dates, and instead of being on a date with a person, we're mentally going through this scorecard of if they meet very specific requirements that we think that we need. So let's start with what should actually be on your checklist. What should be on your checklist, and I'm going to get into renaming your checklist soon, but what should be on your dating checklist are things that are completely non-negotiable. And these are things that are connected to your core values, things that you really really need in a relationship. So for example, some of these things might be marriage or not marriage. If marriage is not for you, then that is something that is very important that should go on to into your dating criteria. You obviously want to meet someone who does or does not want to get married. Children is also a big one. Children is a big one. People who don't have kids yet, maybe either you do want children or you don't, or you're undecided. That means you would have to date somebody else who is potentially undecided as well. For people that already have children, for single parents, I come across a lot of people who are just like, they know that they have reached a certain phase in their life where they cannot date someone who has young children. So these are the things that are important to think about and really ask yourself, okay, where is there no wiggle room at all? So that is one. Then there's a second layer to this, which I think, depending on who you are, depending how strict you've been with yourself, there are certain things that can go on your checklist as well, such as your lifestyle. So if you are somebody who wakes up really early on weekends and wants to go hiking all day, if you're somebody who every Sunday, no matter what, is family day and you have, big dinners with your family, these are also important things that you want to think about, because you're not going to be able to date someone who on Sundays wants to work, for example. Sundays for them is a working day where you want to spend time with family. So family values is another really important core value. Spending time with family, that's another important one. So these are some of the things that should be on your checklist, but limit what these non-negotiable, no wiggle room items are to about 5 things. If you had to, choose 5 things that really go on your checklist. The reason I'm saying this also is because something that is really lacking from dating today is romance. It's as if we've forgotten about romance. And part of this dating checklist, it leaves very little room for romance. Do you know the concept? Like, we don't even say it anymore. It doesn't even happen anymore, where somebody comes and sweeps you off your feet. When you are so focused on what you don't want, there's very little room for romance, for wonder, or for being swept off your feet. So it's something that I just want you guys to have at the forefront of your mind. The more room that you leave for yourself to play in, and the more clear you are on really those core values, the more enjoyable these experiences and these exchanges and interactions with people that have the potential to be part of your life, no matter whether that's long-term or not, it's just going to leave more room for those romantic connections. Okay, so what should be on your checklist? What should be on your checklist, instead of items, instead of items should be feelings. I've spoken about this before. I spoke about it a few weeks ago, but what is most important about dating is how you feel. How do you feel all the time? Who cares if you meet somebody who has the job and the height or the waistline or the car? If it doesn't feel good, none of that matters. And the best part is that you have control over how you feel. And if you're focused on how you feel, there's going to be less conflict. There's going to be less happening in your head where you are constantly in conflict with yourself because you keep thinking, but but this person has everything. They have everything on my checklist. What's not working? And what's not working is that this person is just not the right fit for you. That's what it is, and you'll have far less conflict if you are focusing more on how you feel. And if you think about it, that's kind of the whole point of falling in love and liking people and dating is it's about it's about how you actually feel at the end of the day, and it's really not about making sure that all of these things check off when we're doing matchmaking. And I know when just because two people match on paper does not mean that they're gonna have chemistry and match in real life. You need to have the same approach to your own dating life. So what are some examples of how you want to feel? What should go on your checklist? So think about what is really important to you. How do you want to feel in a relationship? How do you want to feel when you're chatting with someone, even on an online app or on your first date? Do you want to feel heard? Maybe somebody who really cares about what you have to say and how your day went. Maybe that's really important to you. Maybe you want to feel cared for. Maybe you want to feel needed. These are the kinds of things, and ask yourself and go through this exercise and write it down. How do I want to feel in a relationship? And the next time you're sitting across from someone on your date, you're not going to be judging them, and you will be thinking about am I having a good time? Like, I feel really good. This is maybe not someone that like I'm surprising myself. This isn't someone I would normally be interested in, but I'm having a really great time. Go with that. Run with that. That is what dating is about. That is how you should be thinking about your dates and how you should be feeling. Um, okay, done this page. And done this page. So another thing that I want to talk about is this word checklist. So I think that, like I said earlier, the idea of a checklist is something that we just want to finish. And when you're thinking about love and what you're looking to attract into your life, this is something that stays. This is something that you want to live with. This is not a checklist. This is not something that you tick mark and get off your plate. Instead, it's more of a like path. You want this to be a path that's going to guide you to the kind of love that you're actually looking for. So what I was thinking is that you can come up with a word or a way to describe these, parameters and criteria within which you're looking to meet someone. And maybe you can come up with a different name for it. So it should be something that inspires you. It could be something, from your childhood. Like I was thinking of ones that maybe I would use for myself. Like it could be, Kavita's Love Diary. When in a diary, you put things of how you're feeling, what you want, aspirations. So maybe you can call it that. There's really no limit to what you have to call it. It really doesn't have to be a list. Another one I came up with was Kavita's Path to Love. I know this stuff sounds cheesy and it's not a huge part of it, but it's still important. The language that you use with yourself is extremely, extremely important. So I would like you to do this exercise, reevaluate your checklist. I suggest starting with a completely blank canvas. So don't look at kind of the things that you've already put in place and say like, okay, well, I know that I want to meet someone between the ages of, 35 and 45. So I'll open it up and do 32 to 47. That's not what I mean. I mean really start with a completely blank canvas and build your new love vision, whatever it is, really from scratch, starting with those core values. Okay, spent more 10:45. Spent more time on this than I had thought. One more thing I'm gonna mention for anybody who's seen the movie Dangerous Minds. Such a great movie. Actually, just probably a good thing to watch, rewatch during at a time like this. But in that movie, Michelle Pfeiffer is a teacher, and she's dealing with this like really rowdy class of students. So what she tells them is that everybody gets an A. Everybody starts with an A, and all you have to do in this classroom is maintain your A. And I truly believe that you should apply this same way of thinking to dating. Everybody should get an A. We seem to like start people like we're never giving people the benefit of the doubt. We're starting them at like a B or C, and then we're mentally making them work so hard to get to that A. I think we need to give people an A off the bat. Have faith in the person that we've selected to go on a date with, to chat with, to match with, whatever it is. Give them an A and then see how things go. But let's not start people at a C. One last very small point on dating checklists is for anybody who is kind of too open and you have no parameters and you're pretty much open to anything and everything and anything and anyone, then I suggest that you actually tighten the strings a little bit, bring it in a little bit, because if everybody's for you, then nobody's for you. So you're just kind of like going into things without any direction. So for most people, I would say they really need to loosen the strings on their dating checklist and really reevaluate and think about feelings. On the flip side, for somebody who hasn't been doing that, then maybe it's time to reevaluate and create some sort of criteria for yourself. Okay, are we good? Everybody is on board. So that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is, what do you bring to the table? This is another exercise. So this is pen, paper, coffee, wine, whatever you want. Sit down and think about, what do you bring to the table? There are 2 sides to this tip. The first side is an exercise that I do with clients that are feeling a bit discouraged about dating. They have insecurities. We all have insecurities. That's not the problem. The problem is what we focus on. And we all have insecurities, but we also all have so many great qualities that we bring to the table as well. So something that's really important to do is to remind yourself what you bring to the table in a relationship in detail. So there are some more like surface level qualities, like very important qualities, but I'm just going to use some examples. So I'm trustworthy, I'm loyal, I'm a great friend, I'm family oriented. All that stuff is great. Definitely highlight that stuff on paper. But the other things that I want you to think about are why someone should be really lucky to be in a relationship with you. And this list can get really long, and I want you to run with it, and I want you to get excited about it and think about all the things that you bring to the table. That you're a tidy person, that you love to take care of your home, that you love to take care of people, that you like to shower your loved ones with attention, that you're a great listener, you're supportive, if your partner was looking for a job, like how would you handle that situation? That you love to cook and you know that you're going to feed your partner. So really think about all of these wonderful things that you bring to the table, and forget for the time being about the things that are your biggest insecurities. Going through this exercise is really going to build your confidence and make you remember that you don't have to talk to anyone and everyone just because they're giving you attention. And you do want to get really clear on all of the great things that you have to offer in a relationship. Second part of this exercise is, what do you bring to the table, and is that in line with what you're looking for in a partner? So I think it's important to get realistic about what you're looking for, which is on that checklist. And if you are the type of person that type of person is also looking for. So you may want someone who is ambitious and has a great body and drives a nice car, even though these things should not be on your list. But in the back of your head, the things that you've been thinking about all of this time, the things that you believe that you deserve, are you deserving of those things? And I don't mean, I'm talking like on a surface level. Like deep down, we all deserve love. We all deserve so much. We shouldn't settle. All of that's there. That's not what I'm talking about right now. What I'm talking about is when you want something specific in someone else, you can bet that that type of person also has high expectations and also is looking for those qualities in another. So I want you to get real with yourself and ask yourself, okay, I want XYZ in somebody else, but do I offer that same value? Can I offer that same value into someone else's life? And if the answer is yes, okay, great. So you're clear, you know that what you want is, really what you deserve, and you've already brought it, you've put the work in, you've done it. However, if you're getting really real with yourself and there are things that you really, really want in someone else, but you are just not bringing that same level to the table, then now is a time to get real about those things. And it's fine, but work on it. And start small, but work on these things that you know that someone else would really want to find as well. Right now, what we're going through is really a great time for that, because you can wrap your head around the idea that, okay, you may not be in a relationship in 6 months, because working on these things it's gonna take you a year. But wrap your head around that so that you don't feel rushed, and use this time. Like finally, as a society, we have this time period that's slowed down for everybody, so we don't feel like we're falling behind because we're taking a few steps back to reassess, reevaluate, and work on ourselves. Okay, so what do you bring to the table? That was tip number 2. Tip number 3 is another exercise. And what this exercise is about is identifying patterns that are not serving you when it comes to dating. So it can be very easy to date and just to keep falling into the same situation over and over again. And it feels like it's a rut. It's a dating rut. You always end up breaking things off. You always end up losing interest. You always end up in the friend zone. Like, it's one thing to know that this happens, and to keep just going at it and thinking that eventually it's going to change. It's another thing to actually think about, okay, what patterns am I actually seeing in my dating life? And only when you recognize those patterns can you actually dive into how you can change what's actually happening. So patterns can be big or small. And what identifies a pattern is, I would say, like something that you've seen, like not a one-off, but once you've seen something twice, you can maybe start paying attention to it. But definitely that third time around, it has become a pattern. You have fallen into some sort of system, path, whatever you want to call it, that may not be working for you. So how can you start with this? So again, for starters, some of the bigger things could be like, okay, like I said before, I always end up in the friend zone. Like that's a big pattern. So there's something there that you need to identify. Another one might be, and I see this a lot, is that you often go after, you're often attracted to, or you go after somebody who has the same type of job. Like you always date people in finance. You always date people like creative types, like whatever that is. That's another pattern. So I think identifying your patterns, for starters, once you've gone through this exercise, it'll give you something to work with, and then it'll give you something to actually, you can start to figure out how you can make some shifts. And when you know that you're dating somebody who always has this type of job, now you can start to date someone and experiment with dating someone who's completely left field from that. And you could start to ask yourself questions like, hypothetically, what if I did the opposite? I always date single dads because I always said, I really want to date another parent. That's great. But when was the last time you gave someone who doesn't have kids a chance? What if you did the opposite? What might that outcome actually look like? And go through that process in your head, because you may surprise yourself And you may actually get on a path and discover something. The whole point of this exercise is to discover something that has been blocking you without you even realizing. On the flip side of this tip is, what have you been doing that has been working for you? You may not even realize that you're doing things that are really, really on your side, and that you don't actually need to change. So an example of that would be, let's say you're never short of dates. You're always meeting people. You find it easy to chat online. You find it easy your opportunities to actually go on a date or go on a first date. Maybe that's not an issue that you have. Okay, great. So that is working for you. That is wonderful. Another one might be. I had this written down. Another one might be, yeah, that you remain optimistic. You're just a very optimistic person. No matter how many dates you go on or how many things that don't work out, you still really like believe that your person is out there. Again, that is something that works for you. So you can identify patterns on the what would be considered a bit more on the negative side, and identify your patterns of what's working for you on the positive side. And then you'll have something a little bit more that you can lean into. These things work for you, these things don't work for you, and then you can start to find combinations, and date in a way that will serve you that much more. You don't have to change everything necessarily, and a lot of the time people think that they have to do this complete rewind and start from complete scratch, and in some cases that might be right, but without going through this exercise about what is also working for you, you may not actually know that you don't have to work that hard. Okay, tip number 4. Okay, I'm a little bit behind time, guys, so if anyone has to leave, those were like the main 3 tips in terms of exercises, things that you can do while in quarantine. You have the time for reflection and to write this stuff down and to sit down. Even if you give yourself half an hour, put the work in, it's really going to help. Okay, so tip number 4 is work on your online presence. So, we get screening profiles come in for speed dating, right? We screen all of our clients. So we get these profiles that come in, and when somebody gives us very little information to work with, we will Google them. And when we Google a client to learn a little bit more about them, and we can't find anything about them online. There's no LinkedIn profile, or even worse, they have one of these like Facebook profiles with like a random photo that's not even of them. It's like I don't know, like sports logo. And then they have like 2 posts that are from 2007. These are red flags. And you guys know, you Google everybody. You are being Googled. If you are actively dating today, you are being Googled for sure. As soon as somebody knows a little bit about you, as soon as things are going to even take one small step forward, somebody is Googling you. So what does your online presence currently look like? How do you appear when somebody searches for you online? And what's so great about this is that you have complete control over what somebody, well, for the most part, hopefully you have complete control over what somebody can find out about you. So you can really use this to your advantage, especially, this is a really, really solid tip for men. Because you have complete control over what somebody can find out about you. Women are probably a bit more into digging online, and they want to do their research a little bit more, potentially a bit more than men. So what do people find out about you right now when they Google you, and what do you need to improve? Because being a ghost online, if you can't find out anything about the person, that is a red flag. If you have one of these weird, super creepy Facebook profiles, that is a red flag. A really simple way to go about it would be to definitely have a LinkedIn profile. Again, you guys don't have to work so hard. Just have a recent photo up, a professional photo, and just have your actual LinkedIn bio up to date. That's all you need in terms of LinkedIn. On Facebook, and this is for people who don't have this set up yet, on Facebook, something that you could do if you're really the type, you're like, I don't like Facebook, blah, 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 all that stuff, that's totally fine. So what you need to do is just, again, put up a recent photo, a good one. It could be the same one that you're using on your online dating profile. There's consistency there. Somebody recognizes you, somebody who you're chatting with online Googles you and they see the same photo on Facebook. That is comforting. That gives them that security that they might be looking for by Googling you in the first place. So you can put that same photo up and then just put a little bit of your about me section. And then you can put your super high privacy settings on if you want to, because if you're not really active on Facebook, at least get it set up, profile, about me, and then put your super high privacy settings on, so that way it's not about that there's like something weird or that you don't have existence, that you don't exist online, as I like to say. But at least when somebody searches you, they will see, okay, this person exists, they are who they say they are, okay, they have a private profile, and that's fine. So those are the two tips I would give you for right now. It's something that you can work on today. What are people finding out about you when they Google you, and they should be finding something, and they should be finding something good. Hopefully you actually appear kind of like cool online and you have some stuff going on for you. Okay. Last tip is exercising your gratitude muscles. So something that I really want you guys to start doing now, today, this is a tip I give all of my coaching clients. This is a tip I give even coming to a speed dating event, going on a matchmaking date, going on a whatever the case is, really practice your gratitude. What is so important is for you to be able to think back on your dating experiences as positive. So I always suggest writing down 3 things after every date that you go on, but I'm actually going to make it even I'm going to zoom in even more here in a second. But after every date that you go on, I want you to write down 3 great things. 3 great things that happened on that date. Even if it was the date from hell, still write down 3 great things that happened on that date. It could be the fact that you liked your outfit. It could be the fact that you tried out a new restaurant. You tried a new dish. The waiter was friendly. That you laughed. Maybe it's just that you laughed on your date. So anything that is positive that you can find, and sometimes we do have to dig a little bit deeper to actually find something that was positive. But what I want you to do is, be it on a date, a video date, however you're dating right now, be it an interaction that you have online, be it an online swiping session that you have for yourself and you didn't choose anyone, you didn't swipe with anybody, or you swiped right on everyone and you didn't get any matches. Whatever the scenario is, whatever small dating dating experiences that you have, I want you to leave that dating experience and write down, ideally 3, but even start with one thing that was positive about that experience, whether you were by yourself because you didn't end up interacting with somebody, whether you had a conversation with somebody, even if somebody sent you an inappropriate photo, rather than, like, one of the worst things that you can do on the dating scene today is become bitter. We don't want to become bitter about dating. We don't want to get discouraged. And if you guys have been watching my last few lives, I've talked a lot about taking breaks. So when you do start to, again, going back to feeling, when you do start to feel like it's not working for you, that is when it's time to take a break. But what you don't want to do is become bitter and start to complain. No more complaining about dating. There is something, excuse me, there is something positive that can be found in all of your dating encounters. So that's something that I really want you guys to get on board with, to work on, practice it now, bring it into, the real world of dating when things are, when we're out and about and dating again, is to really practice your gratitude and to think about all of whatever we're doing, what positives came out of that experience. And those are today's 5 tips, all stuff that you can do during this time in quarantine, take a bit of time for yourself and work on this stuff. Putting the work in really helps. It brings results. And it goes back to this idea of being on autopilot. We don't want to be dating on autopilot. So that is that. I am going to quickly see. So if you guys have any questions, so the live is officially over. So it went a few minutes over, but so anybody that has to go, you can go. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on for a little bit longer. I kind of wish like we could actually interact. So maybe I'll do this on Zoom soon instead, so people can actually ask their questions out loud. That would be really fun. So for anybody who has to go, have a wonderful Saturday. Enjoy. We'll be back here next week. Is our last of this 4-part series. Anyways, I'm going to be interviewing someone, so stay tuned. Keep an eye on our Facebook page because I will be announcing that soon. It's a really special one for men. Lots of great dating advice coming to you guys from a man that I think is going to be giving you some really great tips. So stay tuned for that, and it's always fun for ladies to listen in and figure out, okay, how are men's minds working? What's happening there? Okay, so awesome. So I'm going to read through and see if there's any questions, and so let's do that. Okay, bear with me while I just scroll a little bit. Okay, so there's some funny little back and forth exchanges going on here. Jen says, what you're saying about online presence is interesting. I've had guys Google me before we met in person, but I don't usually do it. Doesn't it take away a bit of mystery? So what's really cool about what you're saying, Jennifer, is that if you are always Googling somebody and you find that it's taking away from mystery on a date, then that is actually going back to a pattern that may not be working for you. I agree that we should leave a little bit more up to surprise. What I'm basically talking about is the fact that people are doing it. If you're doing it way too much, if you're literally trying to find out every single thing about the person, it's something that I wouldn't suggest. So I completely agree with you. Dating is about mystery and, like I was talking about earlier, romance, and creating that space for there to be something exciting to find out about someone. However, this is like human nature right now. We Google each other, and it's just, there might be a lot about you online. So if there is, maybe somebody could say to themselves, okay, I'm going to Google this person, but what is your purpose for Googling them? Is it because you want to find out every single little thing about them? That's probably not the right reason to be doing it. But for a lot of people, it's just about, making sure that this person might be, is who they say they are. And it brings some sense of comfort, especially for women. Francine says, no, it's not a red flag if you can't find out about anyone. It's called protecting your privacy. This is, sorry, I should have been, this is paramount in this day and age. I think that this can also be a generational thing as well. I think that there's a way to be really smart about what you share about yourself online. I think being afraid can really work against you. I don't think that we have to be scared to have presence online. I understand that my tips are not going to be for everybody. They're not going to resonate with everybody. What I'm sharing is that this is considered a red flag when somebody is just completely off the map. That's how people feel about it. Again, I'm not diving into the psychology about it. I'm not diving into this isn't a topic about online privacy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what people are looking for, what they want to find, and if you, especially as a guy, want to get more dates, and just know that people are Googling you, and if they can find something out about you, if not just some security, know that, okay, the guy that said that this is his job, and this is what he does, and you find him on LinkedIn, that can just be comforting. Rena Robin, I have to agree with Francine. I don't understand why that would be a red flag. Well, I just covered that. It's just odd today when you LinkedIn is a really great example. LinkedIn is more about your professional life. You have complete, again, when I'm saying this, you have complete control over what someone can see or not see. But just not existing and can't, like, there's nothing about you. What I'm telling you is that people see it as a red flag. Why they see it as a red flag, I don't have all of those answers and the psychology behind it, but they do see it as a red flag. So I'm letting you know that this is what singles are thinking. Um, okay, lots of positive feedback, so I really appreciate that. Um, Mita says, I'm caring for two aging parents in their 80s who need care. Should I even try to bother dating or note on my profile that I'm on hiatus due to family issues? Um, I have so much to say about this. So I think that if you, for starters, going back to the kind of language that we use with ourselves, if you view this as family issues, then other people are going to view it as family issues. I think that there is something really important about owning your current situation. And if you think it's the right decision to take a break because you can't give dating the attention that you really want to give it, then that's a decision for you to make. Do I think that being in this situation is has to keep you from dating? No, I don't think so. I think that the right person is going to view what you're doing as honorable. And if you are able to own it and spin it and make it sound positive like it is, because you're doing a really wonderful thing. You're taking care of your two parents in their 80s. And I have a client, and she's a Toronto client. We were at dinner, and she told me that, she lives with her parents. Well, her parents live with her, so a very similar situation. And, it's something that she doesn't share on a first date, and she hides. And then once she knows that there's, this actually might go somewhere, then she reveals that she's actually taking care of her parents. And she reveals it as if it's like a bad thing. Like, okay, you know what? There's something that you should probably know. I actually don't live alone. My parents live with me. Like, the way you package something is 100% how somebody else is also going to see the same thing. So if you package something as, um, something that's respectful that you're doing, honorable that you're doing, that you feel grateful that you have the chance to do, if you're like, listen, I'm so lucky because my parents actually live with me. I feel so grateful to be in a position where I can actually take care of my family. Family, something that's really important to me. Somebody who is the right fit for you is going to view it that same way too. So it's really up to you how you put that out there. But no, I would not say that you have to write that you're on a hiatus due to family issues. That is the opposite of the way I would package that. Jennifer Doyle says, hello, I have a question about dating during quarantine. I'm wondering what we should be looking for to gauge if the person is truly interested in you and possibly dating you when we are not able to see each other in real life. I've been talking to someone in the last 5 weeks who I met online, but we've never met in person, so just trying to gauge interest, if that makes sense. LOL. I'm a big fan of the LOL after writing a fairly serious question, and I think it's a really great question. Another thing I will go back to is asking yourself how you feel. Are you getting the sense that this is moving forward? Does it feel like it's just kind of like for the hell of it. What are you guys talking about? Is it these like fleeting conversations? Is it very surface level conversations? Has it come up about like, have you guys talked about what you do in the city when this isn't happening? Have you guys been having video dates? If you haven't been on video dates yet, Jennifer, that would be, in my opinion, in my advice would be a first step into actually dating. So if it's all been like purely text so far, I would take the next step moving forward at a time like this. 5 weeks is a long time. So you should be dating. And if you can be on a few video dates right now, I think that would be if this person is willing to jump onto a video call and spend a Friday evening with you over drinks now. I would think that they would also be just as excited or happy to be in front of you in person on a Friday night having drinks. So again, it comes back to feeling in a big way. Like, what is your gut? Like, take a few minutes and ask yourself honestly, like, what is my gut telling me? Do I actually see this going somewhere? Am I getting any hints? Has anything happened over the last little while where, yeah, like, why am I even questioning this? Is it just, is it just an insecurity because you don't know for sure? Maybe you do know. If you've been chatting for 5 weeks, and it really depends on how often you're talking. But my number one tip, and you can let me know. Um, Thank you. We have had video dates and phone conversations every evening. Well, Jennifer, to me, based on what I'm hearing, that sounds very promising. But when you feel comfortable, and this, you should do this next tip when you're really in a good zone. Don't ask this question out of a place of insecurity, but when there's like a good vibe going, chatting on the phone, you can start to dabble into in your actual in-person dating. Maybe you can start by talking about some of your favorite restaurants, or a restaurant that you've been like dying to go to or you can't wait to get back to. So you can start to go in that direction and then see where things go. But conversations every night, video calls and on the phone, sounds promising to me. Austin says, great advice. What's a way to keep the spark going and keep good communication? I find that when we get caught up in our lives and the first few weeks go well, and then it becomes a task to keep up and make the relationship a priority. So, Austin, the thing is that we just have to make it a priority. If this relationship is important to you, if you do want to see it go somewhere, if you want to see it develop, then you have to make it a priority for yourself. One way to do it is just by creating a habit and a routine. So something that I share a lot for new couples is some sort of ritual. When it feels right, is making sure that you have some sort of consistency in how you guys keep in touch. So maybe it's that you chat, you have your lunch together. So lunch hour is, you're taking a break from work and you guys actually get on video or FaceTime. This applies in person and at a time like this. So having some sort of consistency that that this time is for this person, or 9 p.m. Every night at 9 p.m. you guys watch your favorite show together on Netflix. Creating some sort of ritual so that you don't have to worry about life taking over, because Austin, you're 100% right. Life does get in the way. But just like anything else, if we want to see progress at the gym, we have to make it a priority, and we have to schedule that time in. As unromantic as this might sound, something I always suggest is actually, if you are somebody who uses their calendar a lot, like I do, I schedule everything. And with my boyfriend, I will write, okay, we're gonna just like talk about our day, and I'll put like in our calendar I have Brad and me time, and I'll put this is 1 hour that we're spending together. So making it a priority is going to be up to you, and finding some consistency and ritual, I think, is something that can really help in that area. Um, so we have some good, just, conversations going back between you guys. I love to see that. That is also great. When you guys come and join, um, when you guys come and join me, you guys can absolutely give each other advice on things that are working for you or not working for you. So that is great. Stephanie, last week I talked a little bit about, I don't really like to suggest specific dating apps because there's a lot out there, and I think dabbling on them, you will be able to find one that you really like, because there's a few things that you need to like, not only the people and the like the options that you have, but even like the style of the app might one might just work better for you than others. With Bumble, for example, we talked about this last week. The woman has to initiate conversation, which is something that I think is really great. So maybe that works for you. But if that's really not your style, and you've experimented with that and it doesn't work for you, then you would want to experiment with a different app. Um, okay, I think we've covered the questions for today. Um, Thank you guys for the positive feedback and joining me again. And yeah, next week is the last one, but I've been really enjoying this. Definitely going to find a way to keep this up. But come back next week. We'll be doing an interview. As I said, it'll be really focused on advice for everybody, but advice from a man to the men here. And yeah, so enjoy your Saturdays and your weekend. And thank you guys again for coming and for your questions. And we will talk soon.